Josh here, and happy freaking Thursday, guys! Hope you're having a great day today, and we are starting the day with helping. Yeah, we're going to be helping you guys figure out what the hell is going on with OBS and Twitch. This is mostly an OBS guide, but solutions for the other end are related to Twitch. Most of this stuff can actually apply to things like YouTube and Periscope and Facebook streaming as well, but the whole drop frames issue, that's all dedicated to Twitch. So, hi! Gamer Dad, how's it going? Meg, that Gamer Jet, the Lightling, Courtroom, thank you so much for the host, Rider Pride, Nurse Muffins, happy Thursday! It is almost Friday. Super excited. Yes, I can't wait for the weekend. Finally. Okay. So, without further ado, let's get started. So we're going to fire it up. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the Stream Help, go to the Stream Help section of CrashCoke.com. Yeah, plug. We're going to go to the OBS and Twitch Stream Instability Troubleshooting. Here, I will keep an up-to-date PDF available for download for you guys, so you can always use it to troubleshoot, do as much as you can for yourself, and so you can learn what to look out for. So let's open it up, and we're going to walk through the whole thing here. And how to solve instability issues. Now all this stuff right at the very start here, do no matter what. No matter what issues you're having, this always gets done right at the very start. Friday for you, that's right, Meg, and like stupid o'clock in the morning right now. Like, it's super early for you. I think it's like, daylight savings happened, so I don't know if that pushed us further apart or closer together. But either way, it's like stupid early in the morning for you. But hi, thanks for coming here. So, guys, we'll walk through every single step, explain how to do each step properly, because I don't have pictures or anything on this chart. I might throw them on later, but we'll just walk through this whole thing right now. Do a Twitch bandwidth test for at least 5 minutes. If you guys don't know what a bandwidth test is, go to Twitch Inspector. So, inspector.twitch.tv. Right here is the whole rigmarole. This is what it looks like when you're live. This is what it also looks like when you're doing a bandwidth test. You can go in here, and it gives you your bit rate, your frames per second. It gives you all your information right here, and you can see if there's any spikes, any drops, anything like that. Check to see if Twitch is receiving all the information properly. You'll get spikes all over the place. Oi, oi, oi! Courtroom, thank you so much, buddy. So that's it right there. It gives you all of your information right here in the inspector. Now, here's one thing you guys can do. Down at the bottom, notify me if my stream becomes unstable. If you're previewing yourself on your Twitch page, you'll get an alert through Twitch notifying you if the stream becomes unstable, which is very, very good. So no drop frames. Average frame rate, I'm locked in at 60, going great. Average bit rate, 5873. I'm right close to that 6,000 threshold. Spikes up and down like this are not uncommon, and it depends what's showing up on the screen. Sometimes your computer will decide, okay, we don't need as much bandwidth to keep the quality up, and sometimes all of a sudden you get a bandwidth spike because your computer just thinks you need the extra bandwidth for the quality. The Lightling, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, it's flowchart time! I absolutely have to disable this kind of stuff for these help streams. Alright, so if you guys really want to do a bandwidth test, let's head over to the dashboard. We're going to scroll down. Unfortunately, now that I'm live, it doesn't show you how to do a bandwidth test. So, we're going to have, normally if you go to this when you're offline, it tells you to go, for your stream key, what you'll do. I can't plug it into OBS right now. You go question mark, bandwidth test equals true. Put that at the very end of your stream key. Let's bring up the OBS settings here. There we go. So in your stream, that's where you put it, right at the very end. Question mark, bandwidth test equals true. And what a bandwidth test does is it sends all the data to Twitch as if you're streaming, but Twitch doesn't broadcast it.
Okay, that's enough of that. Twitch doesn't actually broadcast it. It doesn't make your channel live, but it still receives the data and it still shows up in Twitch Inspector. So that way you don't have to do test streams to test your network, your stability, all that stuff. You don't have to do an actual stream where you're live. You can just go ahead and send the data right to Twitch, but they won't broadcast it. So that's a very useful tool. And that's what it means by a bandwidth test. Now you want to do it for at least 5 minutes. It's actually best to do it for 10 or 15 minutes, or however long you can go without being unstable. Or if you normally go 45 minutes and then all of a sudden you have issues, well, then run 45 minutes. You can either do it as a bandwidth test or run a regular stream. But after you do something in each of these green boxes, that's the time to test it. You don't want to do overkill on this. There's no point in doing overkill. Just do what you need to make it work. So if you, right here, run OBS as administrator, then try streaming to see if it works. Then give OBS highest priority. Then run it. Okay, so anyways, that's how to test it after you've made your changes. Let's start. Did you update OBS and did it work before the update? Seems like a simple question, but so many people just go, oh yeah, that's right, I did update it. So, if it was working on the previous version, go to this website, github.com, JP9000 OBS Studio releases, and download the previous version and try reinstalling that to see if that helps. If it does, awesome. It's just something, sometimes there's bugs with the new hardware. It's tested quite a bit, but sometimes there's bugs. If it didn't fix it, update all hardware drivers. Now, that means your graphics card, your network card, those are especially what you need to update. So on your graphics card with your NVIDIA card, you can go to NVIDIA GeForce Experience from the tray. Watch, mine's not. There we go. Check for updates. I opened this up and then my graphics card just went, hey, blah, blah, blah. I'm still live? Yeah, I'm still live. That's weird. So you guys can see my graphics card driver is updated. And then with your network card, you can actually go into Device Manager. And you can go Network Adapters. And there it is right there. Family Controller. And Update Driver. And they can search automatically, yada yada. You can do all that stuff if you want to update the driver. You can even do that for your graphics card as well, but it's always best to go through the NVIDIA or AMD software to update your graphics card. Run OBS as administrator. Now this might seem like a very simple thing, but what it does is it gives high-level access to OBS. One thing it also solves is sometimes you get a black screen when you're doing game capture or something like that. This sometimes fixes it depending on what the actual underlying issue is. But it's very easy to do. What you do is, here we have OBS. It's hard to see because stuff is right there. Let's go View, Auto, Align Icons to Grid. We're going to pull this right. View, Auto Arrange Icons. There we go. We're putting OBS right there in the middle. What song is this? This is Hyper Thrash by Nilithia, an awesome band out of Vancouver. Okay, so OBS Studio, if you want to run as administrator, you can just right-click, Run as Administrator, fire it up. But what's an easier way to do it, so you always run it as administrator, and this doesn't apply to the program globally. This applies to this shortcut link. You right-click, go Properties, Shortcut. That's where it comes up on by default. Go Advanced, Run as Administrator, OK, yada yada, Apply, OK. And from now on, whenever you use this shortcut, and you can do the same thing with the taskbar menu if you hold Shift, Properties, and you can bring that up right there. But from now on, whenever you use that shortcut, it's going to open up OBS as administrator. That's going to give high-level access to OBS. So let's go back into it. Give OBS the highest process priority, and that's exactly what it sounds like. Give it all the power it needs. It needs the power. So the way to do that is go into OBS settings, Advanced, Process Priority, High. And that'll make sure that it gets all the love it needs. It gets as much love from the computer as it can handle. And that way you don't wind up having Firefox or your Windows Updater or something like that taking resources away from OBS. We got a follow coming in. Who is that? Who is that? Rivets Live, thank you so much for that follow. 32 kinds of awesome. NVIDIA was not... NXN, how's it going? Ramazan. Okay, so we did that. On to the next part. Do you have at least 8 gigabytes of RAM? Yes or no? OBS can be a hog of system memory, depending on how much you have loaded into it. If you have a very basic scene, very basic setup, it can be okay. But as it stands right now, let's open up Task Manager. OBS right now, it's actually kind of low. It's taking up 2 gigs of RAM right now. But there are lots of times where I'll be 4 and sometimes 7 gigs of RAM, depending on what I'm doing. So keep an eye on that, guys. It's strongly recommended that you have at least 8 gigs of RAM when you use OBS. Strongly recommended. So I would suggest, if you don't have 8 gigs of RAM, upgrade your RAM. I know RAM prices are high right now. If you can't afford to upgrade your RAM right now, well, just skip it. Move on to here. What is happening in OBS Stats Window? Now, the OBS... Hi, Ramozelm. Psychomatic, thank you so much for that, host. Now, what the hell is the Stats Window? Well, in OBS, if you go View, Stats, it's this magical window that has all kinds of wicked information. It has CPU usage, hard drive space, memory usage, everything that OBS is using right now. Average time to render a frame, 1.4 milliseconds, so that's damn good. Frames missed due to rendering lag, now that's your graphics card. That'll be something like, all of a sudden, if you switch scenes, whenever there's a transition, sometimes there's lag unless you preload the scene through the studio mode. So to see something down below 1% is okay. If you're under 1% on any of these frames missed, skip frames, or drop frames, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It happens, okay? You can try to tighten it up a bit, but if you're below 1%, don't panic. Right here, lots of time I do wind up with frames missed due to rendering lag, just because transitions, they take a lot, like something like this. Right there, I just missed 20-ish frames right there. But one way you can avoid that is if you go into studio mode, and then we transition. Watch the frames right here. We're at 204 skip frames. No skip frames there. And the reason being is it preloaded the other scene into OBS. So there's nothing wrong with your computer if you're getting a few skip frames, just a few skip frames or missed due to rendering lag. Nothing wrong with it at all. It's just it takes a little bit of time to load that, and it's your graphics card that handles that. It takes a little bit of time to load that next scene. So if you preload it, like by using studio mode or by using, if you go to View, Multi-View, you can go here and you can have, this is a really cool feature as well, you can have all your common scenes preloaded so you don't get any lag when you switch between them all. So I can go overlay talk time, program, preview, these scenes are all preloaded, ready to go. So you don't get that rendering lag. Skip frames due to encoding lag. Now, 99% of the time, this is going to be your CPU. Even if you are using NVENC, AMF, QuickSync, CPU is going to be a bit of a bottleneck. It's very hard to bottleneck your GPU or your hardware encoder. Very, very hard, and still tied to the CPU. The CPU is the heart of your computer, and if the CPU is holding anything, is lacking, it's going to hold everything up. So keep that in mind. And then drop frames. Drop frames is strictly network. So it goes from your network card all the way to Twitch. It has nothing to do with OBS. It has nothing to do with OBS. It has nothing to do with your CPU, with your GPU. It could be your network card all the way out to Twitch. So if you see drop frames, don't think OBS is screwing up. Think, hey, my connection is screwing up. That's all it is. And we have to deal with that differently. So, what's happening in OBS Stats Window? Open the Stats Window from the View menu, and if none of these three things affect you, likely it's just Twitch is screwing up, because that happens now and then. But these are the most common issues for stuttering, for anything like that. We're going to be focusing on just these today. I'm going to be making another flowchart in the future, tackling audio and tackling a few other common things as well. But for now, let's just get your stream running smooth. So we're going to go left to right here. Frames missed due to rendering lag. So that is your GPU. That is what happens is your graphics card. The same part of the graphics card that pumps out those awesome frames per second in PUBG, that part of that graphics card is also responsible for putting everything together in OBS. So basically what it does is you have you have your overlay, and you have your browser, and you have your game, and you have this, and you have this, and your graphics card goes and sandwiches it, puts it all together, slaps it on the screen for you in OBS. So your graphics card is responsible for that, and it does take a bit of juice to do that. So, and the more things you have on your screen, the more it's going to suck resources from your graphics card, and it's going to drop your frame rates in game. Now, the thing you want to do to avoid that is you want to balance everything. Let's catch up. Meg, but how do you manage Discord and the game as well as OBS if I can barely manage a game on low settings and Discord in the background? It all depends on your hardware. Africans, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. It all depends on your hardware, Meg. My hardware, when I built my computer, I built it specifically for streaming. So I have, for streaming and gaming at the same time, I built it from the ground up to do this. So I have a Ryzen 7 1700 that's overclocked. That's 8 core, 16 threads. OBS really makes use of that. The mighty Captain Frost coming in with that host! Captain Frost, how's it going? Thank you so much for that host. But yeah, so that really, I just lost my train of thought right there. So it depends on your system. That kind of stuff depends on your system. Right now we're focusing on just what's happening in OBS. Frost Raid! Captain Frost, thank you so much for that host. 32 kinds of awesome, buddy. Welcome back. New DividX. Did I say that right? DividX? Sure. Hi, welcome to the stream. We're just going over troubleshooting through a flowchart I have that we're going to be, and I'm explaining how to do everything in the flowchart. Bye-bye train of thought, right? Right? Deluxe, how you doing? Okay, so anyways, we're going to go here. Frames missed due to rendering lag. Like I said, that's your graphics card. That's your NVIDIA GTX 10 bajillion. That's your AMD RX blah, blah, blah. Those are your graphics cards that are responsible for the frames missed due to rendering lag. Now, check your GPU usage in Task Manager. Press Control-Alt-Delete and open Task Manager to see GPU. Your goal is try to not max out your GPU. So we're going to hit Control-Alt-Delete, go to Task Manager. Performance, there we go, GPU is at 14%. So I'm doing great. I have lots of headroom. You want to make sure you have that headroom on GPU because when you're playing games, anything like that, you need that little bit of a buffer. If you're pinned at 100%, you're not set up to take a little bit of a hit if all of a sudden you need to transition to another scene, because that takes resources on your GPU as well. Watch what happens when I transition. And I'm going to transition back. See those two little spikes right there? So right there, it went up to about 20%. That used 6% more of my GPU to do that transition because it had to load the scene into the GPU and then it had to do it again when I switched back. Now it's stabilized back at about the 14%. So you need that little bit of headroom for things like that to happen. So if you're at 100%, you need to find ways to drop your GPU down, and you can go into processes and see what's using your GPU and go, okay, well, I have these 5 programs open that I don't need while streaming. I'm going to close those programs. That's a good way to check for that. Excuse me. NXN, I gave up doing PC game streams for that reason. Could not do it, was not happy about it. Okay. Tusa Prime, how are you? Yes, this chart is on my website. So you can go to crashcoke.com/ let's go, crashcoke.com/streamhelp. There you go. Okay, disable NVIDIA and AMD enhancements is the next step. So that is game recording, stuff like that. So we're going to open up. I don't have an AMD card, so you're going to have to look this up yourself, unfortunately. So I'm opening up the GeForce Experience. Thank you so much for the host, Well Skipper and Super Mario. The mighty Captain Frost came in with that awesome raid. Go into settings, and right here, look at this. Game optimization, that's fine. Game stream, ready. Right there. Make sure all that stuff is off. Games, shield is off. General, all these things. In-game overlay, make sure all this is off. Okay, because this does suck some juice. Sometimes it's not much, but anything you can free up is great. So things like that, game stream, make sure it's disabled. In-game overlay is off. Shield, disabled. Just disable everything that you don't need while you're streaming. Oh, Welsh is here. Welsh is here. Hello! Well, Skipper, not going to run it super long today. Hi, buddy. Disable Windows 10 gaming features. features. So we're going to go into here, we're going to go settings. We're going to go start menu, type settings, go to the settings there, or you can just, when you open up the start menu, hit that little gear, brings up this Windows tab. Now go to gaming. Game bar, off. Game DVR, off. Game mode, just disable all of it. Turn it all off, because it sucks resources. And it'll actually, even when you're not streaming, you should turn this stuff off, because it's going to give you higher frame rates in game. Now, match your game frames per second to your stream output frames per second. This can be very important. If your game is pinned at 200 frames per second and OBS is streaming at 600, what's going to happen is your game is going to get priority on your graphics card. That's just the way it is. And if your game is going, I'm going to use every ounce of power I have to get the maximum frame rates, it's gonna max out your graphics card at 100%. So what you want to do is you want to get in game. And I know some of you have like 144 hertz monitor and you really want to play at 144 hertz. Well, what's more important, you gaming or you streaming? And this is a personal question for you. If it's more important that you personally have 144 and your stream stutters, that's fine. Do what you want. But if you want to focus on stream quality, I highly recommend you lock your game to your game frames per second to your stream frames per second, or at least a multiple of. So if you're streaming at 30 frames per second, you could do your game at 30 frames, at 60 frames, or even up to 120 frames. Try to keep it so that it's a multiple of. Itty bitty bitties coming in. What? Winter Soldier, thank you so much for those itty bitty bitties. And the reason being is because it loads up your graphics card, and your graphics card, it has to go, okay, we'll use this frame. No, we got to get rid of these 3 frames. Ah, crap, now we'll keep this one. We'll get rid of these 4. And so your graphics card either ditches frames or puts false frames in if you aren't synced up. Now, if you stream at 60 and game at 60, your graphics card does almost no additional work trying to sync it up. It's just 60-60. It's good. It doesn't have to do anything extra. If you stream at 30 and game at 60, all it has to do is ditch every other frame, and it stays consistent. It's not very much workload. But if you're streaming at 30 and you're gaming at 92, well, all of a sudden you're working with these odd numbers. The graphics card isn't always dropping the same number of frames every time, and it's a lot more complicated and takes a lot more system resources. It's showing as unsafe. Well, that's stupid. I'll go set that up through GoDaddy. I'll get that set up. Thank you for the heads up, NXN. Okay, lower your graphics settings in game. If your game is sucking all of your graphics card resources, if you're pinned at 100%, get that number down. You want to hit kind of an 80% mark, 80 to 90% mark. You want at least 10% overhead, I'd say 20% overhead for when you do transitions or if there's a spike, anything like that. So you want to be able to have an average of 10 to 20% available to you while you're gaming. So lower your graphics settings in games. If you can't maintain whatever frames per second in game and your OBS, you're getting rendering delays, drop your graphics in game. And again, it falls on what do you want to have? Do you want to have something where you're having a better experience or your viewers are having a better experience? So keep that in mind, guys. Unload sources when not visible. Some sources stay enabled to. Some sources, if you enable them, if they stay loaded in the background, it uses up some of your VRAM, your video card RAM. So things like this. Let's see if it's here. There's a few different ways of doing it. Content, loading background, properties, right here. So this image. Unload image when not showing. I have an 8 GB video card. So I have quite a bit of VRAM. Not very often that I actually get close to maxing it out. I don't think I've ever gotten to a point where I've maxed out my memory on my graphics card. 8 gigs is awesome right now. But if you're having issues with that, go through and all these images you can unload when not showing. And that way it unloads it from the memory. If you have a video file, close file when inactive as well. And that takes it out of the memory. And that'll also speed things up just a hair. What about games that automatically allocate frame rates? What do you mean? Like automatically... What do you mean by automatically allocate frame rates? Like setting your frame rate and whatnot? Yeah, I'll just get that. I'll set that up. Yeah, exactly. Limit to display refresh rate, that will lock it down, and that's VSync. So you can lock it down either with, some games have the option to lock at 30 frames, 60 frames, 120 frames, whatever. You can lock the frame rate, or you can slap on VSync. And that'll lock it to your monitor as well. But that also loads up one whole frame at a time to get rid of tearing. So that might cause more issues. You have to experiment a bit depending on what game it is. And finally, reduce the number of sources in your scene. The more crap you have going on scene, the more it's going to take. Let me show you guys something here. So right now, I'm using about 15% GPU. Let's go ahead, and we're going to throw on my filter that I use for Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. Throw this on, just this filter here, to give it kind of the TV effect. It jumped up just a little bit, but watch what happens. So I jumped up a couple percent. Watch what happens when I throw this on now. This whole CRT display, I just jumped up from about 13% to 22%. I just ate up 10% of my graphics card by doing this effect, see? A whole bunch of different effects, everything like that is all, they're all on here. It eats up juice. It really does suck resources the more things you do on screen. So be careful. Yes, you want to have a good looking stream, but also you want it to look great when someone's looking at it, but you also want it to be looking great consistently. Yay! Christian 1976, thank you so much for the bitty bitties. Let's see. For example, on my game scene, I like to have a background underneath in case the game isn't captured right away. As long as you load up that scene, that resource will be loaded. It just means if you switch to a different scene, it unloads that resource. But once you come back to that scene, that resource is loaded. So for me, the back pan, as you saw with mine, the loading background, the back pan that I have, is always loaded because it's there as a catch-all. If all of a sudden something fails, I want it there in the background when I switch to this scene. If my screen capture doesn't load up, my game capture, something doesn't load up right away, I don't want just a black screen. I want something in the background. So I always keep my back pan, this is personal preference, and because my system can handle it, I always keep my back pan loaded. It's in the memory all the time, just so it always looks better. Winter Soldier with them crash eddies. Okay, and then what graphics card do you have? Now, this was very hard for me to do because, you know what, there are some 6 series GTX cards that aren't going to have issues, and then there's some lower end AMD or some older AMD cards that aren't going to have issues as well. But as a general rule of thumb, this is suggested general rule of thumb, a GTX 7 series, AMD R9, RX series, generally you'll be okay with them. And then graphics card meets that, the big thing being at least 2 gigabytes of dedicated VRAM. All right, get to sleep, Meg. Have an awesome stream. Awesome stream. Awesome night. Thank you so much for swinging by. Nice 288. Welcome back, buddy.
People are getting new. Dad.
Okay, so graphics card does not meet minimum suggested specs. You can upgrade or overclock your GPU. If you have a lower end graphics card or no card, it might not be powerful enough to do what you need. You can try overclocking it or upgrade it. Those are kind of your two options at that point. Graphic card meets minimum specs, shoots you over to CPU. Because even if your graphic card meets minimum specs and everything's fine with everything here, and you're still having issues, chances are it's your CPU. Because everything goes through your CPU, including your graphics card. Your CPU controls everything. And if your CPU is lacking, it's going to affect absolutely everything. So we're going to go back here. Now we're going to go to encoding lag. Yay! Doesn't that sound amazing? Yay! Encoding lag! Stream sleeping. All right, yeah. Exactly. GamerDad, you see how that is. 4 gigs of VRAM. That's pretty low. What I would 4 gigs is the absolute minimum amount of VRAM I would suggest. So if you guys are wondering what that is, what the hell does that mean? That is your graphics card memory that's on board. I would recommend you go with at least a 6. Now the nice thing about lots of AMD cards now is they just default to, lots of them default to 8. It's pretty amazing. NVIDIA cards, you can get 3, 6, or 8 on some of them. The 1070s, 1080s, and whatever's coming out next. The higher end ones always come with at least 8. The TIs, I believe, come with 12. So that's not an issue. Anyways, on. Skip frames due to encoding lag. Only proceed if more than 1% cause. 99% of the time it's going to be your CPU, but sometimes it can be your graphics card. So let's look at both options, which encoder you're using. So we're going to start out with software encoder. Yeah, you need 2 of them, Welsh. That Titan V is just garbage, man. That Titan 5 is garbage. Okay, so we're going to head over to software first. And these are all linked together, so you have different ways. Try a faster CPU usage preset. So this will make your CPU spend less time on each frame at the cost of quality. And it'll be a bit of quality difference, but you can go to a lower CPU preset and still look better than hardware lots of the time. Software X264 will generally look a lot better than hardware. And guys, I would highly recommend you enable output mode advanced. So if you guys are wondering where the CPU usage preset is, you go to settings, output, CPU usage preset right here. And it seems kind of odd. You go placebo, and then there's ultra fast. And what's that mean? Well, the faster you go, think of it as your computer's just rushing through then. Instead of checking word for word and say it's a teacher, instead of checking word for word on the essay, it just goes, yeah, it looks about right, check, check, and throws it off. It's just working faster. So if you're having issues with your CPU keeping up, if you're using X264, the first thing to try is to bump up your CPU preset to a faster preset. And don't automatically just go, well, very fast. I'm going to bump it up to ultra fast. Try super fast. Okay, don't just throw it all in. Go one step up. Now, very fast is generally considered the best balance for quality and performance. If you have a faster CPU, I'd recommend going to the faster setting. But keep in mind, guys, once you get past faster, you don't have much difference. You don't have a huge difference. You have diminishing results after this. So you will wind up using way more CPU, and you're not really going to be able to notice a difference at all. RX 480 just crapped his pants. No, the RX 480 is, it's still a good card, but that 4 gigs is gonna hurt it. Okay, close all other programs. Yes! Who knew other programs use CPU as well? So, look at this right here. So right now, I'm using a total of 27% CPU. I'm streaming and I have all these programs open. Look for programs you aren't using that don't need to be open right now and close them. And that's just as simple as it sounds. Just take more crap off the plate, and that way it leaves more headroom for everything. Try a lower resolution. We may as well go through all of this so you guys can see. Try a lower resolution. So, lots of time in the video settings here, I would recommend you keeping your base canvas and your output scaled resolution the same. I would recommend keeping them high if you plan on doing recording at all, because this will allow you to record at 1080 while streaming at 720. If you're not interested in recording at all, don't worry about this. You can do all your rescaling here, but just to keep things simple, for the sake of simplicity on this stream, in output settings, you can rescale your output right here. And try a lower resolution. And what that's going to do is it's going to be less pixels for you to render than before. So I believe 720 is roughly half as many pixels. 1280 by 720 is roughly half as many pixels as 1920 by 1080. So that's cutting a lot out. But I want to show you guys something here as well. Let's go to my channel right now. Now, if you have your friends menu on the side and chat on this side, you go to settings, advanced, video stats. Look at this. My video resolution is 1920 by 1080, but the display resolution is only 1280 by 720. So I'm only broadcasting at 720p right now anyways. And lots of people are going to be like this. They're going to have at least the chat open. So if we go like this, you're still 1470 by 783. So another popular resolution you can use is 1600 by 900. You're pumping out less pixels than full 1920 by 1080, but you're still able to fill up the display while they still have chat open. So that helps quite a bit. The guide page I have is at crashcoke.com/stream help. and I have to deal with my SSL certificate. Oh, absolutely. And we'll get into that, my dumb question about NVENC, the hardware encoding. The hardware encoding is wonderful at higher bit rates, but at lower bit rates, it just can't hold a match to CPU. And if you really want proof of that, try streaming a dark game, something dark where there's not very much definition between with the scenery in the background. You will see massive pixelation on NVENC, especially with that. When there's not much contrast, that's where NVENC, AMF, QuickSync, that's where they're all going to fall extremly short. And they're not going to have the nice softer edges too. They're going to be jagged edges lots of the time. For my website, I just use a GoDaddy builder because I actually know how to make full websites. I did make a website. I did do website design for a few years, but I just don't have the time, and I don't want to go back and forth with code anymore. I just want it simple. I just want it to work. So I used GoDaddy's own website builder, and it took me no time at all to put it together. It took me minutes. Exactly. Try streaming Bloodborne. There you go. There's a great example, and you'll see a difference. Okay, lower resolution. Now, next, lower the frame rate. I know, not the frames, anything but the frames. Well, no, we've tried a lot of other stuff besides the frames. Now we're getting to the point where you have to consider dropping the frame rate. Because think about it, if you're streaming at 60 frames per second, you drop it down to 30 frames per second, your encoder's doing about, and it's not going to be perfectly, but it's going to be about half as much work. So you're going to be unloading your encoder quite a bit. If you drop down to 1920 by 10, or sorry, 1280 by 720 and 30 frames per second from 1080, 60 frames per second, that is a massive amount of work you have taken off of your encoder. A massive amount. AJN, how's it going? Welcome to the stream, buddy. Optimize your webcam. That's a big thing. Webcams suck a lot of juice from your CPU. They really do, because your CPU has to decode them as well. So, the way to optimize your webcam, for me, I have to keep a larger webcam because I have, got the hiccups. I have a larger scene like this, and I also have my sub where I take up full screen. So I need my webcam at 1920 by 1080 resolution. So if we go into, where is it here? Cam complete. Right here you can see it takes up the entire screen. My camera is 1920 by 1080. Now if you guys don't ever have anything like this, and you only ever have the camera in the bottom corner like this, don't have your webcam at 1920 by 1080. Have it at whatever you need. The biggest you need for there. Set it at the smallest size without any distortion, pixelation, blurriness, anything like that. The smaller you make it, the better it's going to be. So we're going to go cam complete, webcam, properties. Right there. Resolution 1920 by 1080. You can drop it way down to any one of these resolutions to make it work for you. Okay? So drop it down to the lowest resolution you can. Okay. And now simplify your browser sources. So I'm going to give you guys an example right here. Task Manager. Let's open this up. Performance. Now let's do subscriber. CPU. Subscriber. So we got a little bit of a peak right there. Subscriber. There we go. Oh, I just gave myself a bunch of bonus points. But see that spike? Now let's let it stabilize again. 26, 24. Stabilize. Let's run that one again. Let's do the follow alert. There's that spike up. We've gone up about 10% because of an animated alert. So, if you're finding that you're having issues with the encoder, all of a sudden and the way this is going to present itself is if your stream is lagging, all of a sudden you get an alert, you get a bitty alert, you get any of those alerts, and all of a sudden you notice that your frame gets choppy, or your stream gets choppy, simplify them. Get it so it's not an animated alert anymore. Get it so it's just an image that pops up on screen, or just the words that pop up on screen, just a sound effect, but minimize it, simplify it, because that's going to be sucking resources. Now, from here, I absolutely want software encoding for better quality. Either upgrade or overclock your CPU. You need to get more juice out of it. I already tried hardware encoding. Brings you back to graphics card. Or try hardware encoding. Sam Squatch. There's a Sam Squanches right there. There's a Sam Squanches right there. Ride of Pride. I haven't watched Trailer Park Boys in a long time. Holy shit. Try hardware encoding. Let's bump up here. It brings us down here, but let's actually see how this is. Software or hardware encoding. We did hardware encoding. That's NVENC, which is NVIDIA's chip. Now, hardware encoding, what it is it doesn't take it's not supposed to take your part of your graphics card that renders frames per second or your CPU. What it is quite literally a separate chip soldered on to either your CPU if it's Intel QuickSync, your APU or GPU if it's AMF, Advanced Media Framework, that's an AMD one, or if right on your graphics card if it's NVENC, which is NVIDIA's card solution. Now these are dedicated encoder chips, and to prove to you that it is a completely separate part of the chip, look at this. GPU right here, video encode. If I was to switch over to hardware mode instead, stream with using NVENC because I have an NVIDIA card, video encode would be full here. So this right here, this section right here is just that dedicated chip. So that's the downside to this is that at lower bit rates, like the 3500, the 4000, the 6000 that you stream to Twitch, it will not perform nearly as well as X264. You're going to get artifact stuff like that. But when you're recording to your hard drive, recording at 40,000, 60,000, really high bit rates to get that extra quality, you really want to use hardware encoding because that's where it's going to shine. At the high bit rates, it does an amazing job. You need to be able to give it all that data for it to use. So right there, like I said, it's a dedicated part, but there is a downfall when streaming that you're not going to get that quality that you would with X264. So this is the second option, in my opinion. Okay, if you at least have a quad-core CPU, you can try switching to X264. Oh yeah, exactly. It only uses 10% of it, so it's very, very uncommon that you're going to max it out. What's usually going to be an issue is if you have an extremely underpowered, if you have a Titan X with an underpowered CPU, yeah, you're going to have issues. But or sometimes there's hard drive restrictions. You should be able to your hard drive should be able to handle 40,000, 60,000 bit rate. Yeah, exactly. Lots of room on that encoder chip. Okay, so first thing I would recommend is trying to switch to software encoder. The bump if you have at least a quad-core CPU. You can technically do it on some dual-core CPUs, but I think your chances of nailing it are pretty slim. Anyways, let's continue with hardware encoding. Switch to a different hardware encoder. So if you're having issues with your current one, try switching to another one. Sometimes if you have an NVIDIA card and an AMD or an NVIDIA card and an Intel processor, you can switch between QuickSync and NVENC. Just a note, QuickSync is extremely inefficient, and QuickSync actually, through tests, I found that QuickSync can actually use some of your GPU as well. Some of your GPU that's used for rendering frames per second in game, it can use some of that. And it uses a little bit of CPU too. It's an extremely inefficient process. So try switching hardware encoders around if you can. If you can't, switch over to the encoder preset, and you can change that to high performance instead. So output, recording. So I have my recording set up for NVENC H.264, H hardware. Preset, high performance. Switch that there, unload a little bit. Lower resolution, same thing that we talked about before. Lower your frame rate, lower your bit rate. Most modern cards, you won't have to do this. You won't have an issue with this. This won't affect anything. Look at how much is being used here in your video encode, video decode, video encode. That's the only one you want to worry about. But check to see how much is being used there. And disable 2-pass encoding. Just take a little bit more load off. Yes, exactly. Yeah, the presets are backwards on NVENC, but just go for the high performance because there are higher, lower settings, but just go for the best just try the one for performance. Then from here, try software encoding or already tried software encoding, and it takes you all the way back here. And then that's it for stuff on OBS now. Can you upgrade or overclock? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. I can upgrade or overclock. Yay! Start over, do your upgrade, do your overclock. Start over if you're still having issues, and we'll see if we can dial it in. Or can't upgrade or overclock. Time to look into getting a new system, because streaming is extremely demanding. It takes a lot of resources. It's one of the hardest things you will do. You could run games for days on your computer, the most complicated games ever. And streaming is still going to tax your overall system more, generally. Okay. So now, I had to, since that took up all that space right there, I had to do drop frames in its own section down at the bottom. So let's go do drop frames now. Drop frames. Cause, this is your network. This can be your network card, your cabling, your router, your ISP, it can be Twitch. Tons of things. It is very hard to troubleshoot. By far the hardest to troubleshoot out of these three things. So let's give it a shot. Drop frames are a result of a network issue and can be difficult to troubleshoot. Check your upload speed. That's the first thing. Make sure that you can actually broadcast at a high bitrate. So, go to speedtest.net and make sure your upload speed is at least 33% faster than the speed you are trying to upload at. So, if you are trying to upload at 6,000 at a bitrate of 6,000 kilobits per second, you want to have an upload speed of at least 8,000. That gives you some overhead for things like online gameplay. If other people in the house are using the internet as well, things like that. Using NDI to another PC. Yeah. NDI to another PC. Yeah, I'll look into that. I'll look into adding that. But the thing is, there are so few people that use it. I might do a dedicated thing for that. I have an issue. You are too legendary for me to like you. Oh my God! Oh, Heathen! Hey, Heathen, how you doing, buddy? Okay, so check your upload speed. Go to speedtest.net. Speedtest.net, and I know there are better ones, but this is the general one. Give it a shot, and I found this one is typically fairly consistent. I know sometimes it's been accused of caching things, of caching the pages. The ISP can cache it, but give it a shot anyways. So you want to see, you don't care what your ping is, you don't care what your download is, you care what your upload is. And you want to watch for any dips, anything like that. You can see I'm getting a little bit of up and down right now, and that's because I'm broadcasting right now. But right there, I have more than enough overhead. You want to make sure that you have at least 33% more. So, if you guys don't believe me on that math, calc. Let's go here. Say you want to stream at 6,000. Say you want to stream at 6,000 kilobits per second. Okay. Right there, times 1.33, your upload speed should be 7980, about 8,000. So you want to make sure that your upload right there is 8,000, okay? If not, speed is okay. Speed is not okay. Okay, so if your speed is not okay, if you're not hitting that range you want, you can either lower your bit rate so that you can hit that. So what you do then is the other way around is you use 75% of it. You want to keep 25% on top. It goes 33% the other way. Yeah. Anyways, say you wind up with an upload speed of, say you have an upload speed of 6,000. What's that gonna be? What can you stream at then? Well, times 0.75, because you're going the other way. 4,500 is what your max upload bitrate should be in OBS. Keep that headroom there. You need it. That'll be a big thing right there. Speed is not okay. I am not okay with lower quality. Talk to your ISP. Talk to your service provider, and either A, ask them if you paid for a higher plan and you're not getting it. Go after them. Say, hey, I'm paying for this higher plan. Why am I not getting it? Or B, if you are paying for the lower plan, upgrade. That's what it is. Yeah, sometimes, depending what it is, sometimes it'll seem off. Ah, damn it, I missed a fight. I would recommend refreshing your page. Doing good, Jackie Reborn. How are you? Okay, so that's right there. Speed is okay. Try changing your servers. Check which servers offer the best speed for you by downloading and using the program called Twitch Test. And Twitch Test at rich.net. And this is exactly what it looks like. You can choose which regions to test. Try to just test on your continent. Don't bother with the other ones. Canada falls in other. But for the most part, unless you're way up north, if you're kind of in the middle of the provinces down to the border, just stick with the US. That's generally a better idea. Otherwise, go to other, and you're going to find Canadian servers as well. But test them all. I'd recommend do a medium test, not a short test, and find which one has the best quality and go with that. If you have multiple ones with the best quality, say you have 2 of them at 88, choose the one with the highest bandwidth out of the 2. Okay? So, that is running the Twitch test. And then you'll be able to locate that server, figure out what server it is, and you can automatically assign it. Stream, I'm right here. Server, you can click that, choose that server from this list. Try it out. You might have to try a few servers to get it right. You may notice an improvement, you may not. It might not be that question. I did, didn't I? Okay. Thanks, some question. I completely just blanked out on that. That was not smart. Great White North, buddy! Okay. Reset your Twitch stream key. We haven't done that. Sometimes you can help solve some connection issues by doing this. So go into your settings. Actually, sorry, into your dashboard settings. Dashboard.
Oh, well, everybody's
There's a spin.
the bird.
Bird, bird, bird. Bird is a word. Well, a bird, bird, bird. Bird is a word. Well, a bird, bird, bird. Well, a bird is a word. Let's see. Rutherford, man, I wish I could kick my ISPs right in the posterior brown eye. Buggers lied to me when I moved to Martinsville, and I'm stuck with 25 down, 2 up. They don't offer anything faster, and they're the only one in town. Damn. Oh, that sucks, dude. Heathen Gamer coming in with the spin and the rounds. Gamer Dad has the rounds, so we'll go into channel settings. And stream key. Where is it? Stream key right there. I am not going to show it. You can go show key and then reset your stream key and put the new stream key into OBS. The new stream key into OBS right there. Try that out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. One thing is, it's easy to do, and it might fix your issues. So give that a shot. Reset your router. Sometimes your router can cause issues, especially if it's older. So reset it. You can try restarting it at first, but a fresh reset. Make sure the firmware is upgraded. I can add that in. Firmware upgrade. Make sure your router's updated. Use a wired connection. So streaming over Wi-Fi, in my opinion, is a terrible idea. And in many people's opinions, is a terrible idea because you're going to get network instability lots of the time. Hey, Oliver. Hey, you. He likes his hair tie. Come on. You're going to scratch my leg up with that. There we go. Use a wire connection. So, yeah, plug it in if you can. Use a network cable to plug your computer into your router. You're going to get a much more stable connection. And that could be causing your issues as well. Wookie, how you doing? Next up, check your cables. Let the Wookie win. Check your cables as well, guys. Make sure that all your network cables from your computer to your router to your modem to the wall, make sure they aren't damaged. Make sure that someone hasn't accidentally run over them with a vacuum cleaner, that your pets haven't chewed on them, stuff like that as well. Make sure that they're perfectly fine. Now try streaming to another service. This is a good way to check to see if you are having the issue or if Twitch is having the issue. And I had to do that the other day, find out why I was getting dropped frames. And if it was on my end, if it was my network, or if it was actually Twitch. Turns out it was Twitch. So try streaming to another service. As a test, try a stream to another service like YouTube. Make sure Facebook Live. You don't have to permanently stream to them. Just try it. And don't worry, guys. As an affiliate, you can stream to other services, just not at the same time as you stream to Twitch. So, I stream to Periscope on Mondays. And, yeah, you can try streaming to another service, see if you get those drop frames still. If you don't get the drop frames, it's a Twitch issue. Contact Twitch support and let them know about the issues you're having and the steps you have taken to get to this point. And it could be something. Check Twitch support on Twitter, all that stuff. Make sure that you're fine. I don't know why I just blanked out. Make sure that they know about it and let them know the issues you're having. If you check Twitch support on Twitter, they'll let you know if they're having issues most of the time. If you still get drop frames, whitelist OBS in your firewall software, depending on what software you have. You're going to have to look through your help file and figure out the way to whitelist OBS in your firewall software. TCP port setting, make sure you're up on TCP port 1935 is allowed for your firewall software and your router's firewall. This is through your router. Again, there's so many routers out there, so many ways of doing this. Check your user manuals on how to do this. Download your user manuals, find out how to do that. Let's see, nice rated. I can agree to that, Crash. My router was old, and lucky for me, since I leased mine through a company, I got upgraded for free. Now I can use 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. There you go. Okay, I'm awesome, dude. Got a new job today. Really cool, buddy. Bassmaster, how are you? Bassmaster, issue on their end, on the ISP. Absolutely. That is, lots of times ISP is going to have an issue. Absolutely. There we go. Might be worth streaming to another ingest server if your nearest Twitch ingress is overloaded. Yes, and that was it. Here, try changing servers. And that's one of the first things that we do. Because it is off. Lots of times you will get loaded up with your ingest server may get loaded up. So you're going to have to switch around and try. If you find it's a common thing, guys, you can use Twitch test and run that at the beginning of every single stream to see which server is the best one for you right at that certain time. You don't have to stick to the same one all the time. Let's see. Had to have my provider come back. I was having issues with my internet and pulled 6 feet of cable out of the wall that the previous installer put in and kinked to shove it in there. Now he cut it down to get actual internet. Jeez. Hey, do you want me to fill out an app for that amount? Oh, crap. Yeah, please, Heathen Gamer. Do it at crashcoke.com/graphics. Just so that way I can record it. I can keep an eye on everything. Please. Have you ever tried XSplit? No, I actually have not, because I do have a free copy of it, but I've had no interest to. I mean, OBS is free, and it's extremely powerful. And I don't know, I haven't had interest. I can give it a shot. If anyone wants to itty bitty bitties, Beastmaster, coming in with those 100 itty bitty bitties. If anybody wants to know about XSplit, I can definitely dig into it, dive into it, give my feedback, and yeah, see if we can find a way to optimize it. I can I can look into it. Let me know if that's something you want, guys. TCP port setting, that's on your router. Give that a check, but I can't tell you guys how to do that with your router. There are so many different routers, so many different ways of doing it, different firmware revisions for each router. You guys have to look it up in your manual. Antivirus and security software. Add an exception in your antivirus as well. Sometimes it's different than your firewall. So give an exception to obs32.exe and obs64.exe. Give an exception to both of them. New network code. This actually worked for me really well to get rid of stream delay. Well, not rid of it.
Subscriber.
Holy crap!
Subscriber.
Wookie coming in with the sub. Wookie coming in with a 4-month sub. Holy crap, buddy. Thank you so much for that sub. You get to choose anything on the menu that's not crossed out. Anything at all. It doesn't matter the order anymore. We've gone ahead and fixed that so you can choose whatever you want. I'm using game capture and it's also capturing my Steam overlays. Syrup. If you're using XSplit, I'm not. Where is that? That should be an option. I know it is in OBS. I don't know if it is in XSplit though. There's an option to catch those kinds of overlays as well. New network code. We'll get back to this. I've got to wrap it up because we are running a little bit behind. Holy crap, he's again coming in with the bitty bitty bitties. Thank you so much for the bitty bitty bitties. Settings. New network code. So, that's all down here in network. Enable new network code, low latency mode. I enabled low latency mode as well. But I was getting about 0.1, 0.2% drop frames through Twitch. And I didn't need to adjust anything. Technically, didn't need to. I'm within the safe range, but I didn't like it. So now I'm getting 0 drop frames using enable the new network code, and I'm able to run low latency mode as well. Let's see what the delay is actually on my stream right now. To me, anyways. To you, it'll vary depending on where you are and ISP and everything else in between. So, buffer size 4 seconds, latency to broadcaster, latency to encoder. I'm about 10-second delay. So, pretty damn good. And then bind to IP is off. Basically, guys, if you don't know what it does, don't enable it. See, I don't fully understand what it does, but I know one thing. After reading OBS documentation and going through it all, unless you specifically know what it does, it shouldn't be enabled. So just make sure that's off. Generally, remember, guys, this is not for 100% of people. This whole sheet. This is for 98% of people. 98% of people this will work for. 2% that it won't work for, you guys probably know more than I do. And rule out your router. Lastly, and the way I tried to do this, guys, is I tried to make it so that any changes throughout this whole thing would keep quality, and then next it would lower your quality slightly, and then it would get into the financial stuff. So that's the way I've kind of laid this out as well. So the very last step is a financial thing. Okay, rule out your router. Connect directly to your modem to bypass your router. If you get no drop frames, get a new router. If you take your router out of the equation, all of a sudden everything works, it's your router. Time to spend money, get a new router, upgrade. But if you still get drop frames, well, now you plug directly in. That router is usually provided by your service provider. So that's their hardware. And that, if you're still getting drop frames, that's 99.9999% sure that's something that's happening on their end. Okay? No worries, buddy. And that is about it. Multiple network cards, and you have multiple ISPs, for example. So you could have one ISP for gaming. Oh, I got you. Exactly. Not many people use that. That would be yes. Okay, that makes perfect sense. So if you have two, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So you have 2 connections in there. Yeah. Hardly anyone uses that. Unlikely anyone needs or uses that. Yeah, I wouldn't use that on my system. There's not really much point to doing that anymore. I mean, with the high-speed fiber optic that everyone that's available in so many places now, it's not really worth it. Wait, NXM won? NXM won the 500 Sammys. If you're able to, I would check your ground block outside. I ran to many that were installed vertically, and water damage and copper, and it was all rusted. Oh, it was all corroded. Damn. Yeah. Well, at that point though, I'd suggest that'd be ISP that would generally check that, right? That should be ISP that installed the ground block, wouldn't it? Yeah, because that's not the main electrical ground. Yeah, exactly. The main electrical ground, that'd be your responsibility. But if it's the ground for the network connection, that's yours. Or sorry, that's ISPs. Anyways, at that point, you throw your hands in the air and say, ISP, fix your crap. Fix your crap. All right, guys. That is it. You misspelled skills. Ha! Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's more to bitch at them to fix it. Yeah, and that's the thing, guys. Remember that just because they're a tech doesn't mean they know what they're doing. I'm not trying to say that I'm not trying to put any techs down at all. But I'm saying the way the industry is, and it's not just their industry, it is the general way things are. You get a lot of underqualified people that they're just there, punch in at 9, punch out at 5, and that's it. They're underqualified. I get that in my industry, And my industry, I mean, it's similar. I'm in construction, and you get guys that they just don't care. They don't know. It's just a mix of them all. You wind up with that kind of stuff. So just because the text says it's perfectly fine, and you're still having issues, I'd call back and I'd ask for another tech. Have another set of eyes look at it. Stranded Killer, how are you? And that's it, guys. That's all I have today. So any suggestions, anything at all, this is available at crashcoke.com/streamhelp. I will be doing revisions as I learn more things, as I get more feedback from you guys. So if you think I missed things, if I made a mistake, guys, let me know. I will be happy to revise it, and I'll put the revision here on the website. And there will always be the most recent version at the top and noting what's changed. So guys, let me know if there's anything that needs to be changed, and I will take care of it. But that is it. That's all I have today. And yeah, thank you guys so much for swinging by. This is going to be available on YouTube later. When? I don't know. When I get time to do it. My cat just threw this up at me. Oliver just threw this at me. Now he's staring at me. He wants to play fetch. Go get it. And that's it. That's it, guys. I had a blast. Like I said, let me know if there's anything on here that you notice that needs to be changed, or anything that you think should be added as well. I think I will add that note about hounding your ISP. If they still don't find the issue, guys, do not be afraid to call them back. If you've gone through this list and you're still having issues, call them back and just keep hounding them, because 99% of the time it is going to be them once you get to that point. Classic Chambers had this issue where he was getting tons of drop frames, and we went through this whole troubleshooting thing. It took him about 6 or 7 times with his ISP to finally get a tech who knew what they were talking about, and they fixed it. It was a node. There was a node in their neighborhood that was having issues, and the last tech troubleshot it, and he was able to fix it. And sometimes that's what it takes. Just keep hounding him. But that's it, guys. That's all I have. But first, before we go, it's time for a host bomb. We're going to find somebody in the community, somebody to love, and we're going to drop a host bomb on them. We're done. Thanks for watching. And always remember, the key to happiness is